Hey, Inspired Tribe. How's it going? It's John Nolan here. Jim Gale is here with me. It's good to see you, brother. Finally, we made it. Thank you so much for having us. As you can see, we're not in a studio today. We're not in a room today. We're actually in the center of Jim Gale's vision. We're literally in the center. Jim, where are we? What are we looking at here?
Well, we're at Galt's Landing after John Galt out of Atlas Shrugged, and this is in Central Florida. And this is where a culmination of all my dreams and hopes and visions and all the struggles in life that have accumulated, this is kind of, it all has come together. We've got a 52-acre piece of property, and what we're going to use this property for is to have the best life that we can have, and to demonstrate what that means. To us, that means freedom and love and joy and radical abundance. So let's show you the abundance around here.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, we'll put the links down there and up there and everywhere. Go and watch interviews with Jim Gale of Food Forest Abundance to know what the vision is about. Today we're in the vision, and we're going to show you a little bit of what they have already accomplished and what's growing here so beautifully. Literally a new future.
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's check it out.
Demonstrating abundance. That's what it's all about. So, all right, come here. I'll show you some of the Centropic Agroforestry, and we've already got about 200 different species of edible and medicinal plants growing, along with a lot of functional plants that help those plants grow. So,
well, let's go check it out.
This idea of bringing this to the world, and we're gonna come at this from a very loving and strategic type of way of thinking about it. How do we inspire and empower the masses? How do we catalyze a shift in consciousness that leads to mass adoption of the most loving and logical thing we could do as individuals for ourselves, let alone our families and our communities and our world? And so that's what this is all about. It's about using our resources in a way that's regenerative and healthy on every level.
You said there's, I don't know how much lawn space in the whole world, but just in America. How many people have lawns? How many parks? Simply unused, manicured green space. No food there, no abundance there. And your vision is literally to bring this to everyday people all over the world, starting here in America, and showing people how wonderful and easy it could be to be self-sufficient, self-reliant.
This idea of it being easy because we've been programmed by strategy to believe that growing food is hard work. Well, I'm going to show you something different than that. So come around here and let me show you this. These right here, in fancy terms, it's called Centropic Agroforestry, but in everyday terms, it's just rows and rows of food. All right, so right here, there's a 500-foot row, and it's 2 wide. And in here, we've got about 60 to 70 different species of edible plants. So check this out.
When did you plant these?
These have been in the ground about 13 months. And 13 months ago, a lot of these trees were a third the size they are now. In fact, this right here is sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are something that everybody should be growing here, especially in the summer. You can even grow these in your closet indoors. Sweet potatoes are incredibly nutrient dense. You can eat the leaves, the stems, and of course the tuber. And look at how beautiful it is as a ground cover. There's probably 200 pounds of sweet potatoes in this one area here. And you know how much maintenance that has taken? Absolutely zero. We stuck 2 starts in the ground. We stuck one here and one over there. And now we've got 200 pounds of food.
That's amazing.
That's mind-blowingly amazing, right?
So you're saying you put this in here, you let it do its thing, and there's no maintenance.
There's no maintenance. We've done nothing other, well, we designed it to be put in the ground with, we put cardboard down over this pasture, and then we put good compost and good soil on it. And then on top of that, we put good mulch. And then that's it. Once you design it and install it properly, then nature does all the work, right? And this here is turmeric. Turmeric has been shown against chemotherapy to be more effective at treating some types of cancer. Now, of course, I'm not a doctor, right? So, but that has been the experience, which you can look up these studies online. And it's also an incredible spice.
And of course, it's way superior to mass farming of a plant that needs to be treated with pesticides and all of that.
Yes.
What is the fundamental principle of permaculture? Because all of this is based on permaculture. What is the fundamental principle?
The fundamental principle is modeling after natural systems, God's systems. Right? When we model after source and just observe and interact, we say, okay, what's working well in a natural system? And then we say, okay, how can we put those elements together, those different types of plants, in a way that serve us? And not just us, but all of nature. And so that's what permaculture is. It's mimicking natural systems. And to expose the poisons and the poison producers is a big part of it. And then turn away from those and follow nature. And on 52 acres, we've got about 40 acres of what used to be pasture land. And the whole thing is going to be like, I vision like the Garden of Eden. Literally the whole thing will be a massive food forest. So radically productive.
And your idea here is also to show this to people, right? To have people come here later on to tour, to educate.
Yes.
Because the truth is, you don't need 52 acres.
No.
You don't need 5 acres. Any space can be used and utilized.
Absolutely. So there are people in California that have shown this. If you could look them up, a tenth of an acre produces 7,000 pounds of food a year. On a tenth of an acre.
That's amazing.
It's so amazing. You can produce all the food that your family needs on a relatively small piece of land. And now they're market gardeners, so they're a little more intensive. I love the perennial. This is the lazy man's food forest right here, where you put it in and it just, nature does all the work. So,
Stunning.
yeah, isn't this cool? Look at these bananas. When we put these bananas in the ground 12 months ago, they were about knee high, maybe a little bit shorter than my waist. And now, what is that? 12 feet tall. We even have, let's go around here. The one thing about a food forest, if you want access to it, you have to make trails because it will fill in with food, like the Amazon rainforest, for instance. That was a designed human settlement 5,000 years ago. And when you take the people out, it just continues.
People have asked me about this.
Yeah.
When you say it was a design, this is something that's not officially known. It's not something they say it's a natural environment. You say the rainforest was designed.
Yeah.
What culture, what knowledge is this based on?
So the Inca culture, and even cultures before them, they're now using LiDAR to map the terrain and kind of dig in, kind of like X-ray machines, and they can see the roads, they can see the buildings and the structures. And if you go even on Google and you type in Amazon rainforest designed food forest, there's archaeologists have kind of laid out how that whole process happened.
It's pretty amazing because people don't know this.
Yeah.
So even this, any size can be actually designed and put in place.
Yep. Design is important. If you want to learn the process of design, you can simply go online, go on YouTube and study permaculture. I've spent thousands of hours just looking up every permaculture video I could find and just being so amazed at what's possible. Now, that takes a lot of time. If you want to move faster, you can speed up time by finding a permaculturalist or finding a designer. And that's what we do at Food Forest Abundance, is we help people design these systems for their yards.
So they go to your website, foodforestabundance.com.
Yeah.
And they can literally order a design for their backyard, and they get in touch with someone. And you said you literally plan it down to a T, and it can be installed, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want to do that, don't have the time or the knowledge, you can hire someone to come to your backyard and put it in.
That's exactly how to speed up time. If you want to learn it, I suggest everybody learn it. And when you have a food forest, you will automatically start learning it because it will draw you in. It's such a fantastic experience. Like sometimes I come and meditate and I literally just sit here in the food forest on the wood chips, and I'll sit there for hours. In fact, one day I was laying here and just kind of laying there, and it's just such peace and joy. Nothing was bothering me. This idea that it's absolutely not like that. And I opened my eyes, and there's a bunch of buzzards. For real. Like, I actually got video of it because it was so funny. And then I moved, and they all left.
And there's another aspect to this that we haven't really touched on is, yes, you're investing in your future. Yes, you're investing in your food supply, natural, healthy, nutrient dense, all of that. but it's also a financial investment.
Oh, gosh.
Because of you're going to have so much more than you need.
Yeah.
And you just told me you put trees in the ground and they triple in value in a year or a year and a half, right?
Exactly right.
But do you think that in the future, this is going to be one of the best commodities to have and also to share with people?
Yes. It's in my experience and a lot of research, it's one of the most important things, if not the most important thing we could do right now, is to use our resources wisely. And growing food instead of lawns is the foundation of freedom of our society. As an investment, even in normal times, you're looking at, like you go to the nursery, you buy a potted tree out of a 10-gallon pot, and it might be $80. That same tree with good soil and growth in a year will be $200. So just by having it in the ground, you've created a major asset. And then when it starts producing, now you're looking at hundreds of % ROI per year in a normal world, not including the ROI of health and wellness and abundance.
You know, when people invest in a property, and a lot of people do now, a lot of people sell their condos, sell their apartments, and go out in the country. So their thought process is, yes, I can grow food. Yes, I can do this, but how am I going to cover all my other costs?
Yeah.
And the truth is, with a food forest garden, with this abundance, you can easily take what you don't need, sell it on a farmer's market, and share beautiful products and make a great income, right?
That's exactly right. And there's apps out there. In fact, you told me about one earlier today that I'm excited to get in touch with those folks. And there are ways to bring the food to market and create local communities. And folks, this is so important nowadays, is create a local tribe. And you talk about this quite a bit on your shows.
Yes.
Create a local community for all sorts of reasons. Sharing food, sharing resources, sharing this ability to help each other out. In times of need, it's more relevant now than it's ever been.
Well, as this absolutely shows, I mean, you're allowing people, and in the future, there's going to be more people coming through here.
Yeah.
You're allowing them into your world. You're showing them what is possible.
Yeah.
Now, this is connected to bigger projects too. This is individuals, but you're also thinking about public spaces.
Yes.
You're talking with politicians.
Yeah.
You're talking with people in that have tremendous amounts of wealth that say, listen, Jim, we are willing to put millions into this vision to help spread this.
Yes.
Why do you think this is catching on? Why is this really resonating with so many people, even in powerful positions?
You know, well, my favorite quote, Victor Hugo, there's one thing stronger than all of the armies of the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. Not a new idea, but an old idea, and now it's time for this idea. So when I share this logic with people, they go ding, ding, ding. It's like the light bulb, the enlightenment went off in their minds. And it's so easy to share this idea and have people go, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? Well, that's the programming, the strategic programming of enslavement. The freedom from governmente, mind control, is light mind or enlightenment. Right? So that's what we're showing people. The ding, as the light bulb goes off, the new idea comes. And this idea of the politicians, right? I've never voted because I don't believe in that system. But we are aware that there's major energy in that system. And a lot of times that energy, in the form of what's supposed to be our dollars, goes to actually enslave us. But now there are politicians calling me up, and several I've met with, that are going to use this strategy to get elected. And what is the strategy? It's so radically simple. Let's use the people's resources to feed the people by putting food forests in parks and schools and churches. I'm meeting with a pastor on Monday, Pastor Ray, and we're going to put a food forest on his church property, and we're going to share the reasons why to do this with his community.
And also, if you have if there's politicians out there right now watching, if you're, maybe in a powerful position or running, think about this. It doesn't seem to serve a government when you make people self-sufficient. But the truth is, what happens when people are self-sufficient? When they grow their own healthy food, when they live in their own clean, healthy environment, what do you think is going to go down? From crime, poverty, sickness, all of these things are going to be minimized and eventually a thing of the past.
Yes.
We can make poverty, sickness, crime a thing of the past. We literally can.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine running on this, and having an actual vision, not just how are we going to spend more money on more programs that don't go anywhere, but actually help people create real abundance.
Yeah, exactly.
Create real abundance.
Real abundance everywhere. And this has been done all over the world. Again, I'm not doing anything new. I'm simply modeling after the champions, the heroes of the world. In fact, I had an incredible talk with David Holmgren the other day. 2 nights ago, for over an hour, we talked about, he wrote a book called Retrofitting Suburbia. And it's exactly the same vision we have. Food forests in zone 1 of our culture, which is the backyard. The first square foot outside your back door or your front door. That's the most logical place to grow food because it's an energy transfer science where you don't want to spend a lot of energy to have food on your table. Right now, food comes from 1,500 miles away.
It's ridiculously stupid.
It's insane. And yet, boom, it's right there outside your back door.
I do have another question for that. We hear people that come to us from Canada, northern parts of Canada, and they say, yeah, that's all great. You're in Florida, right? This is beautiful. The sun is shining. What about Minnesota? You're from Minnesota. Can you do this in Minnesota?
Not only can you do it, my buddy Chad Johnson, he's got a house off the tip of Lake Superior. And it's cold. It's ridiculously cold up there. He's got a food forest he started about 5 years ago. He's got 300 different species of edible and medicinal plants. They make a living off of their food forest. They sell the medicines, they sell tinctures. And this blew my mind. The other day I was up there and I said, Chad, how is this? This isn't contained. He actually has barriers to keep the moose and the deer out of his annual beds. These raspberry bushes, they're like 8 feet tall and you can't see through them. And nothing's going to go through that, right? And they're so prolific. So he said, Jim, I've went and checked the woods around my house. He said, I estimate, based on checking patches of woods, that 100,000 or more plants have been planted from my food forest into the forest around my house, from the birds and the wind and the water coming in and blowing the seeds. So what does that tell us? A food forest, the Garden of Eden, is expansive by its very nature.
Well, that's how the Creator designed it. Yes. We're just beginning to start working with the Creator rather than against the Creator.
Yeah.
Now, you are, to me, you are the inspirator because you live your vision. You are your vision. You told us there was a moment when you had to let go of all fear, all doubts, all worries, and you knew this is the moment where I have to step into my vision.
Yeah.
And you also said something when you did that, and you were also in a situation that we've all experienced all of a sudden. The financial means dry up.
Yes.
The responsibilities are still there.
Yeah.
And you realized how this system operates is not really how I'm ever going to get into a state of flow. But what happened, because so many of our viewers, we know this. You are in a situation that might be difficult.
Yeah.
You're saying, hey, I barely get by. I don't have enough money to invest in anything like this.
Yeah.
I can barely live as it is. Right. You were there.
Oh, I was so there.
And what happened? What happened to you?
Amazing. So I love sharing. So it is the failures in my life that have taught me by far the most of everything in my life. The wins, when you win, you party. When you lose, you ponder. I think Tony Robbins said something like that. Right? And it is so true. I look back at my life, and the failures were the most important gifts of my life. So I had accumulated from scratch to about $20 million, and then it's when I learned what was going on in the world, and I had my daughters, and I didn't see the solution. I entered a kind of a psychology of scarcity. I was concerned about the state of our world and what's the future going to bring and how are we going to make it through. And it was about 15 months ago when I was walking at night and I was meditating and taking deep breaths, and I was at the end of my rope. I went from 20 million to negative 80,000. I had a credit limit of 90,000, and I didn't have a job. I had just lost my business due to, not COVID, due to government interaction.
Due to the policies.
Due to policies.
So basically, you had a family, a young family,
Yes.
a ton of responsibility,
Yes.
debt, and no income. So just so we show, 15 months ago, this is really important. And then what happened?
I was walking and I meditated and I was listening to some good tapes. I think it was Abraham Hicks or Alan Watts. And all of a sudden, I just said, I'm going to live in faith. And I just lived. I really did. And I took a step, and all of a sudden I could see more clearly. I could literally see. I shedded some type of illusion, right? Fear, false evidence appearing real is not just a neat acronym. It's the real freaking deal, my friends. And I let it go, and I totally stepped into spirit. We are spirit, living a divine experience, playing Leela, the divine game. And I said, I'm going to play the game, and I'm not going to be concerned with this physical world. I'm going to step into the next level to the best of my ability, right? And I still experience times when I watch some crazy crap going on, like, oh my gosh, the economy might crash tomorrow, and I get into, and I'm like, nope. And I catch myself by the feelings that I have. I notice now, I have really paid a lot of attention. Do I feel good or do I feel bad? And when I feel bad, that is my gauge. It's like my compass. And I say, oh, take a few deep breaths, and I come back to the present. God's gift is the present. And then from there, the ideas come. And from there, millions of dollars have now flowed into our entity, our company, that help us help people grow food. And that's what it's all about, is staying true to the vision.
And it's such a beautiful testament, because this is a story we hear over and over. It's also our story, by the way. Of course, the details vary, but the essence of these stories is always the same. As long as you are in this state that's limiting you, that's full of worry and fear, you're going to go from one crap into the next crap. It just happens that way. But there is a way out, and a way into the real deal, and that's what you just described. Jim, if people get super inspired and say, Food Forest Abundance sounds like something I've been looking for in my life. I want to help. I want to be a part of it, or I want to grow and start becoming self-sufficient and being. How do they do that?
So it's really, we make it so easy. Our mission internally is to serve our cooperative partners. Our cooperative partners' mission is to serve their communities. How? By inspiring and empowering people to grow food instead of lawns. That's the foundation. And then it expands from there to schools and churches and community centers and corporations, where we inspire everybody for their own benefit. We just show them why this is good for them, and then we take out any reasons not to do this. We also then are in the business. So if you're interested in having a food forest landscape yourself, if you're any type of entity that has the ability, that controls land of any kind, then we can help you turn that land into an asset instead of a liability. And this is kind of important. Galt's Landing here, we have 10 home sites, and people think our dues are going to be $1,000 a month, a nice tennis court and a dock and all this stuff. That's not how an asset works. We share the profits that come from our land. So if you have an HOA, if you run an HOA or you're part of an HOA, turn your land into an asset that will produce free food for generations.
And think of this, boards and HOA people. Shift the paradigm. You see the gas prices, you see the food prices, you see the shortages. This is not going to go away overnight. This is going to play out, and this is going to leave a lot of people in dire situations. So if you start now, change your rules, let people have food gardens, let people, and actually encourage it, and make it a space of abundance, so people say, this is the kind of neighborhood I want to live in, because everybody is rallying around this idea of self-sufficiency, and everybody's growing food. And quit with the pesticides and the lawns and that stuff that doesn't serve anyone. So there's awesome opportunity. How do they find you? Foodforestabundance.com.
Foodforestabundance.com, and let us know what inspired you to reach out. We believe in regenerative capitalism. We believe in the fair exchange, the voluntary exchange of value. We invite everybody who wants to be part of the solution to join us, or even just share with your community. And by the way, this is important too. You don't have to have a lot of land. You don't have to have a lot of money. You don't have to have a lot of space. For $20, you can go to the store and buy what you already want to buy. And you can then go online, and cucumbers and tomatoes, and you can learn how to propagate those seeds, and you can turn your closet into a grow room, right? Now is the time to start growing food.
Jim, thank you so much for having us here. Christine and I have fully committed. We are partners in this vision. We're going to support this as, in any way, shape, or form we can, because we love what you're doing, and it's absolutely aligned with our values. So you're going to hear more from Food Forest Abundance from Jim. We're going to be together again very soon. There are big things coming, and soon we're going to talk more about it. But there are big, huge things coming, and this is about to grow exponentially. So be prepared to hear a lot more about the food forest abundance revolution, because it's happening.
Love you guys. Thank
Love
you.
you, brother.
Thank you.
Inspired Tribe, thank you all. Thank you, Jim, for showing us this beautiful space of yours, and we'll be back with you very, very soon.
Awesome.